Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Tribe Life podcast. And this is our first episode back from being on our trip. We've split it into a two-part episode. It's just Taz and I talking to each other about the trip and some things that went down. So this first episode, you'll hear a good lot of stuff, and then it'll be about 30 minutes long, and then we'll cut that into two episodes because the second one will be about 30 minutes long as well. And we're going to try to do this a bit for the future. Keeping things in the 30 to 40 minute range rather than going over to an hour. And if that's the case and we do go over an hour, we'll split it into two separate episodes so they're a little bit more digestible. Enjoy part one of this, and we'll release part two very shortly afterwards. Welcome back.
Okay, do it.
No, don't do that.
What? How do we do it again? How do we start?
Hi, this is the Tribe Life podcast.
And we are back with another episode of the Tribe Life. It's been a little while. Taz was like, "Oh, I don't want to record," and I'm like, "Taz, we gotta record." And she was like, "No, just come make love to me." And I was like, "No, I don't want to do that." And so finally, we ended up after months of not recording. We're back. We're home. Let's talk about our trip.
Let's do it.
So we figured this first episode back, we would talk about basically the trip, everything that went down on the trip, and, well, not everything, but just maybe some things that we learned. We have some questions here. We have some ideas, and it'll actually be kind of fun for us to talk about it because we lived the trip, but I wouldn't say we've necessarily broken down emotionally the trip and expressed it. So yeah, if you don't know, if this is your first time listening, we just went on a trip. We went 5 months around the world, so we were on the road for nearly an entire 5 months. We left December 4th from the house, and we got back. When we get back?
May 3rd.
May 3rd, so on the dot 5 months. And it was super duper fun. Our full trip involved going from the West Coast, California, where we lived, to the East Coast to visit my family. And then we went East Coast to Ireland, and then Ireland to Scotland, Scotland to more Scotland, and then Wales, and then England. Mm-hmm. And then from there we went to Dubai. And then from Dubai we went to South Africa. South Africa we went to Bali. Bali we went to Australia. Started on the, what is that? East of Australia, eastern, in Perth and Margaret River, and then went to the west.
No, other way around.
We went to Perth and Margaret River,
which is the West Coast.
Oh, okay. So when you said you meant no.
Yes.
Okay. This is what our communication has been like for 5 months.
Oh shit!
Just nonstop Taz not understanding my questions.
Just takes a while to process them.
Fair enough. I mean,
so fast
with your small brain. It's not about the size of the brain. It's about how you use it. It's okay.
I'm not offended. You can keep going.
And then, so I guess we went to the West Coast first, to Margaret River and Perth, then Margaret River, and then we went from there to the East Coast, and then drove all the way up the coast of Australia. And then from there, we flew back home, and now we've been home for about a month.
Yep.
And we have gone nonstop since we've been home.
Yep.
We've been doing weddings and bachelor parties and building stuff at our house and training and launching new programs and doing a little bit of everything and trying to raise these kids. Oh yeah, and we got pregnant while we were on the trip. We were like, shh, make it easy. Let's travel while pregos. And yeah, that's where we're at. It was an intentional thing to get pregnant.
Right.
We were trying to get pregnant. And we did it.
Good job, honey.
In South Africa. You too. I mean, you were a part of that. Mm-hmm. Barely. I mean. So this episode is just going to be us kind of reviewing the trip, going through some questions, going through some things that people have asked us, going through kind of just breaking down how things went for us, to each other, and for y'all. Let's do it. Ready?
Okay.
You have the list. Go, Taz.
So I think we get a lot of questions and people commenting on how traveling with 2 kids is really hard and they wouldn't do it themselves, or maybe they're like a little bit nervous to do it, or they have these reservations about doing it but really love traveling. What would be like your number one advice to someone who's like, man, I wish we could go traveling, but we have 2 young kids and I just don't think we can do it?
That's your question.
I'm asking you, what would you say? And then I can answer it too.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the hardest part about traveling with 2 kids is the expense. If you have the money, you have to do it. Like, not you have. Well, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do anything. But I would say it's a cop out and an excuse to say that it's hard. Like, life's hard. Raising kids is hard. You accept that it's hard and you just make it happen. That being said, I'm not a particularly anxious person, so anxiety is not something that happens for me. Actually, there is one thing that makes me anxious, and it happens to be while I travel. We can talk about that, but for the most part, and so that I guess strengthens my point, is this saying that like there are things that are going to make you anxious, or there are things that are going to be hard, but you have to accept them and you have to just do it. Like there's not like a tip or a trick other than like, these are your kids, you're raising your kids. It doesn't matter what other people think. If they're going crazy in a mall or whatever it is, you still got to parent them. These are just new opportunities as you're traveling to find out different ways of connecting and parenting your kids. Plus, I think traveling with your kids is like offers so many unique things that not traveling doesn't. So even like when we leave the house, like we're forced to spend more time with each other in unknown places, which completely changes the dynamic of our relationships. Whereas you never get that if you're constantly in the same routine, doing the same family stuff. Even if you've got a great routine and great family stuff, like you break out of that routine, and the only way you can have that happen is travel.
Yeah, and I would say travel also, on that note of like the routine, like our kids are very well adapted to just kind of picking up and going.
To not having a routine.
But they love a routine, but they also, like, if we go somewhere for the night, like staying in a strange place or staying in the van for a couple of nights doesn't affect them at all. They're just like, oh yeah, this is what we're doing. Okay, cool. There's no like, okay, well, we've got to be careful because this is a new place for them and they've got to, of course we're mindful of that, but I think like that makes traveling for us really easy because they're used to it.
But why do you think that why do you think they're well adapted? Is it because we do that?
Because they're used to traveling, and when we travel, we don't make a big deal about things.
Right.
We don't announce like, okay, now we're going to be doing this, and then we tell them what we're doing, but we're not. I don't think we're very elaborate with how we talk to them about things. I think we get them excited about certain things, but we don't make change the forefront of their experience.
A huge deal.
Yeah. But what about, like, one thing that I think about with traveling with kids, and it's hard because we're, like you said, we're not very anxious people and we're quite easygoing like that. I think it's also about changing your mindset about traveling. I think sometimes people have this idea about traveling and it doesn't involve kids, and they try and bring kids onto this traveling trip that they want to do, and it is hard for them to do it with kids.
Right.
So like going and lying by a poolside at a resort is just not going to happen unless you put your kids in the, daycare all day. But, or for us, like even in Europe, I wanted to go to so many more museums and just literally walk around and stand in front of one place and like read the plaque for half an hour.
That wasn't going to happen.
And that's not going to happen. We attempted that a few times and it was fine, but it wasn't ideal.
Yeah, so I guess I think that's pretty good advice. Like, you're not going to have the same travel experience.
Right.
I think you kind of have to view it as a lot of experiences with kids, where it's like, what are the experiences that they're having? What's the good time that they're going to have? And that should be your good time. Your good time is seeing them have a good time. Like, you still have to take care of yourself, and you still have to get good food and enjoy these experiences, but you should start to be able to enjoy seeing them experience new stuff. And if you don't enjoy seeing them experience new stuff, grow a pair.
Or maybe don't travel with your kids.
Or maybe don't travel with your kids. Yeah.
You can give them unique experiences in other ways, but
True.
For us, like this is what we like to do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you went into traveling with kids thinking like, oh, I'm going to go do my stuff, like that's when you're going to have a bad time. And you're going to say traveling's hard with kids.
And I would say also like traveling for 3 weeks on a vacation is different to traveling for 5 months like we did.
True.
For like the way we did it wasn't really like we weren't aiming to see all the sights. We weren't aiming to be tourists everywhere. In certain places we did do stuff, and then other places we would just literally chill at the place we were staying and go to the beach, and that was kind of it.
Yeah.
And I think those times were our
Best times.
most favorite times, really.
Yeah.
We enjoyed the other stuff, but we, it was more kind of homely and comfortable doing the stuff we know and the kids know.
Chilling and eating.
Chilling and eating. Do you have anything else to add with
No,
that, traveling
no.
with kids?
Nope. Do it.
If you can, rent car seats. It's much easier
What?
than dragging
No.
them around.
No, I disagree.
Totally depends on where you go. So
Totally disagree. It was so hard.
So we couldn't, no. Think about if we have brought our own car seats in Europe and we had have dragged them around.
To where?
That one day in Scotland when
There was one day where it would have been difficult, and it was already difficult.
Do you think so?
Absolutely. We wasted money because we rented car seats, and they're so expensive. So every time you rent them, they're like $20 a day.
Yeah, they're expensive. That's for
And
sure.
if you rent it for 2 weeks, you're shelling out way more than it would cost.
But okay, what if you have 3 kids and now you're dragging around 3 car seats?
It's only till they get to the car.
But what happens if you're catching trains and stuff everywhere? If you're doing a solely like Europe trip and you're catching trains and
Right, but then you're not renting a car. So
Right.
like it depends on the type of trip that you're doing. If you're renting cars, you should be bringing your car seat.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. I agree with you.
I was so pissed that we didn't bring our own car seats.
Right.
Because I had to deal with dickheads in all kinds of.
We ended up buying our own car seats because we got to a place in South Africa and for some reason they just didn't have any car seats left. So we had to go to the nearest like kids store and buy a new set of car seats.
Well, and every rental car you do, like some of them are upcharging you at the yang,
Right.
and then some
It was
of them
really
are not
inconsistent,
charging, and
wasn't it?
and these car seats you get are crap, and some of them
Right.
you never get the ones that the kids want, and then they're different, and then they give you a baby one, and you need an adult one, and it's like
very passionate about the car.
I hated it. I was so like it made me so mad that you're just like just give me a car seat, and then it's like
I'm
no.
glad I brought it up.
Yeah, well,
Okay, so yeah, that's a good point. I think in my head, I kept thinking about that time when we were dragging around all our bags and the kids and...
but we didn't have car seats then.
No, I know, but I was just imagining having to have 2 car seats on top of that, and that would have been a bit of a nightmare. But we would have just dealt with it. We would have just caught a taxi.
Right. We might have even made a better decision had we had car seats.
Right, because we wouldn't have been able to drag them.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
It
true.
wouldn't have been like, we would have bought one of those carts. That's what we would have done.
What carts?
We would have rented one of those carts.
That's in New York. I'm talking
Yeah.
about when we're in Scotland, dragging them around.
Oh, yeah, Scotland.
We totally would have rented a cart, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when in doubt, rent a cart at the airport. Don't
Yeah,
try and be like me, actually, and not save $5.
Yeah, you get, well, so in the rest of the world, there's little
It's
carts
free.
that you push your luggage around on. They're pretty much free everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Like you get to the airport, you throw your luggage on this cart. You go to the States, like you're here in LA or you're here in New York, and it's like $2-3.
It's like $5 in New York.
Maybe it was $5 in New York because those guys are punks. But yeah, that got us good, and we were like, nah, we're not gonna do it. We're not gonna rent it. We'll just carry it because I'm strong. CrossFit.
And then
And then it was the worst experience ever. So just rent the cart.
it was worse because Oaks had diarrhea and vomiting, and I was vomiting.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay,
We can tell that story later.
rent car seats. So, well, let's talk about our
We already told that story actually.
on a podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So for you, what was your best experience for you, not for the family, but like for you? Where and when did you have your best experience on the trip? And it can be like, it doesn't have to be like one instance if you don't have one instance. It can be like a place or
Yeah.
you know, but
My best experience, I mean, I really enjoyed actually the final time that we spent in Australia, just because we were in really warm water and it was really mellow. and there was no real expectation
Where were we?
for anything. I think everywhere from Byron Bay up.
So Byron Bay and Noosa.
Byron Bay and Noosa, yeah. So Byron Bay and
Gold
Noosa.
Coast.
No, not so much Gold Coast.
okay.
I mean, where do we stay in the Gold Coast?
Snapper Rocks.
Yeah, Snapper wasn't that great. You know, like I didn't really like Snapper. It was a city, and like it was not the greatest surf, and there was a bajillion people in the water.
There was a lot of people.
It was
school
just
holidays.
Yeah, but still, it was just it wasn't that cool. Whereas I feel like Byron Bay offered a really unique section.
I think Byron Bay and Noosa are very Santa Cruz-y, which is why you felt comfortable there.
Right. So and you obviously love what you know.
Yeah.
And then I think I don't know, but if I had to say my overall best experience was in South Africa and probably Plet. Like I really loved staying in Plet. Like Plettenberg Bay. Was a place we stayed.
Good surf there, or because we?
Well, we only got one day of good surf, and that was amazing. So I had one day of good surf mixed with amazing food at really cheap prices, and I felt really comfortable in the area. Like I felt like we could do whatever we wanted. We could go out and do an animal park and see all the giant lions and tigers and stuff, or we could go to the monkey reserve, or we could go to an empty beach, or we could go to a populated beach, or we could go to like a super sharky beach, and then we could paddle in the river inlet that would come out. And then we had friends there, kind of. We definitely had friends there. I mean, they weren't our friends before we got there,
right?
But then once we got there, and they had kids, and our kids got to play with them.
They
So
were great. Yeah.
It was just a good experience. You know, it was everything about it was really good.
It was good. Great.
So I would say Plet was my favorite experience.
Okay. Yeah, well, so mine was in South Africa too, and I think because I have a big connection there, because I was, born and raised there till I was 12, and I loved going. I mean, I love being by the beach, but I loved going into the bush and we just spent one night at this game reserve, but it was just so amazing. The sunsets to the sunrises to the game drives, and the place we stayed was really family friendly, and they were so friendly, and everyone there was friendly, and Oaks met some friends, and I actually met some Americans there too.
Yeah. From Portland, right? No, Seattle.
Seattle, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my most favorite experience.
A game reserve, by the way, if you've never heard of one, really is it's like a giant. It's fenced in, but it's like miles and miles and miles.
So you get two types. You get private game reserves, which is where we were, which is like essentially it's a man-made animal park.
But it's not man-made in the sense that like they go in and put in agriculture.
They don't put the agriculture in there, but they do put a lot of the animals. So a lot of the You're hungry? Yeah. Okay. I'll get you some food, okay? They do put a lot of the wild animals, so like the lions and the hippos and then the smaller kind of animals probably just exist there.
Right.
And then they have traditional, like national game reserves, and South Africa has, I think they just have one, the Kruger National Park, and that's massive, and that's just.
I mean, even the private game reserve is massive. Like
they are the private game reserves are massive, yeah.
It's like 200 square miles.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't. The thing is, we didn't even see all the animals. Like we didn't see rhinos because they're very protective over the rhinos.
Very different than a zoo.
Yeah, it's not a zoo. You're driving around miles. Like we didn't even go from corner to corner on the 2 game drives we did, and we didn't see. We saw the lions from like far away.
Well, how long did we drive for? We were on the thing for like 2.5 hours.
2 to 3 hours. Yeah, we're just driving that whole
and
time.
not even going close to the edges of this game reserve.
Right.
It's a big place.
Yeah, but
I don't think people can comprehend what a game reserve is unless they've been to one.
Right.
Like to me, it sounds like a zoo.
Yeah,
but it's not a zoo. You're driving around looking for wild animals.
It's very
and they're wild
conservational.
Animals.
Like they make a big deal about. Like they care for the animals very, very well. Like
Yeah.
they have 2. At the one we were at, we stayed at Nambiti private game reserve, and even within the game reserve, there's maybe 4 or 5 resorts, game
Lodges.
reserve like lodges, and you don't see any of them. So that's how big the reserve is. You don't like see any of the lodges when you're out driving, really. But they had the
anti-poachers,
the anti-poacher trackers, and they were kitted with like AK. 47s and just like...
Yeah, so they drive around there every night, and during the day they've got these guys dressed in full camo who have like legal rights to shoot poachers. So like...
They're legal.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like if they catch anyone poaching on there, they can kill them. Like it's pretty lawless out there.
Right.
But they basically have big old AKs, like Taz was saying, on their backs, along with motorcycles, like dirt bikes, and they just cruise around the game park looking for people who could come in and poach, because people will come in and hunt endangered rhinos because they're dickheads. So it's kind of cool. I like the anti-poachers. They looked savage. Like
They did.
The guys looked like scarred up faces, and
I think you're making that up.
I don't know. In my head, that's what I saw.
I think they had like goggles and stuff.
They were salves. Anyway, you like the game reserve.
For me, like as an experience. So what about like so for us, I mean, we can both talk about it, but I think in terms of like a vacation spot, because most people don't travel for 5 months, but in terms of going somewhere for a vacation, and if you think about like families, family friendly, most affordable, relatively easy to cheap to fly there. And I think for me, South Africa is like, I would recommend it hands down.
Yeah, I mean, South Africa definitely ticked off a lot of those boxes. It's surprisingly family friendly. Like everything is really oriented towards having like your kids with you while you go out to dinner at a nice restaurant, or every park you go to has an amazing playground that they can have a good time on, or there's zoos, or there's all this stuff that kids can do, and there's not many limitations. And I feel like a lot of other countries, there was like, well, you can go here, but you can't do this,
right.
and this.
Well, your 2-year-old can't. We took arrows zip lining.
Yeah.
And, like in these canopies above.
We'll post a video of that. I still have it.
How many feet was that above?
1,000.
Like it was, and he just turned 2. And they put them in this tiny little toddler harness, and the guy was holding him the whole time, but he was still allowed to go on it.
Yeah, it's really whatever you feel comfortable with. Like Taz was saying, like this was a very serious ziplining adventure, and it was 3 hours long. And you basically like get harnesses, a helmet, all this stuff, and you clip in with 2 carabiners and a safety rope and a lead, and then you're going back and forth through this valley where you zip line to a platform, walk to the next one, zip line to a platform, and it's an amazing experience. But like in South Africa, they're like, yeah, the 2-year-old can go, and as long as you as an adult feel comfortable with that entire scenario, then you can do it. And I think that with the type of people Taz and I are, it was really worth it. It was really something that was enjoyable, and I didn't feel sketched out about it really at all. I felt like it was just really well done in general. So yeah, I would not say South Africa is particularly easy to get to or inexpensive to get there. I think it's like a couple grand to just the flights. But the once you get there, the South African rand is not strong to the dollar, so you can buy amazing food, amazing meat, like high quality, good wine, everything for pennies to the dollar, which is just kind of mind blowing as an American who is used to spending a lot. Now, Australia was also really family friendly.
That's true. It was.
It was just really expensive. Mm-hmm. Like everywhere you go is like. And
it's the same price to get to Australia as it is to get to South Africa.
Oh, is it really?
It's just a shorter flight, but the flights are the same price.
Yeah. So I think we both agree that South Africa.
I think if you have 3 weeks to 4 weeks to spare, you would do South Africa so you can get over the jet lag, because it's like 30 hours to get there.
I think. I mean, we haven't even mentioned like Ireland or the UK. I think those places are really cool, and they're really old, and there's cool stuff. But for kids, it's like you're not enjoying it that much. Like you can't go read. You can't go to museums and read all the cool stuff. Right. You can't like. There's nothing that the kids are experiencing that they couldn't just experience in like an old section in New York.
Right. For the kids, probably not. Like for me, I'm a bit selfish in that way. Like I love going to those parts of the world.
Right.
Because,
well, no, I'm down to go back.
And there is lots of stuff to do for kids. It's just we were there in the height of winter, so it is hard to be outside.
Right.
We were inside a lot, and I think
good beer, great beer.
Yeah.
Not really kid friendly though.
Yeah, but they do have lots of children's museums and stuff too.
Yeah.
We went to a bunch of those. So yeah, I mean, but Usually when you think of like family vacations, you think of like fun activities, you think of being like near beaches, you know, things like that. I think usually that's what people want to do, unless people want to go skiing and stuff. And we didn't do that this trip, so we can't really talk on that. But I think South Africa for sure.
What was your least favorite place?
Like place?
Least favorite, place / experience.
Well, it's really hard to say because in that last... So I think if I take everything on board, like physical, emotional, you know, feeling, I think by the midway where we're in Australia, like by the time we got to Sydney, I think I was kind of in those early stages of being pregnant, and I was getting a little homesick. So those two things combined, and I've been to Australia a lot. So I think for me, that kind of put a bit of a dampener on that trip, that last part. It was so great to see family and be with friends and stuff like that. And then it's kind of a tie between that and Bali, actually. Like, I really enjoyed Bali. I loved how we like got those scooters and we scooted around everywhere. But I just couldn't get past those poor dogs and the dirtiness. And I think it's good to see stuff like that because, you know, we're used to going to like beautiful countries and seeing, you know, all the beautiful things. And Bali's beautiful. It's just beautiful in a different way. Yeah. That was kind of like a cultural shock for me, I think.
Yeah, Bali was rough.
And people ask us a lot about Bali, and I try and... Because I think our experience is very different to how most families experience Bali. I think families go to resorts and they go to like nice beaches and they stay there.
But there are no nice beaches. That's the thing. There's no nice beaches in Bali. They're all covered in trash. There's not a single beach that's not covered in trash.
Right. Well, I think the ones that are by the resorts are probably
maybe they're maintained, but there's like trash floating in the water and stuff.
I know.
I think it was just like it was demoralizing to see. Especially coming from South Africa where stuff's pretty pristine, like
in most places.
In the places that we were at,
right.
not in like the downtown areas and things along those lines. But I would say that Dubai was my least favorite, hands down.
Oh well, yeah, but that was more of a, I mean, I love Dubai because we got to see like good friends.
We got to see good friends, and that was the only.
But I knew exactly what we were getting into going to Dubai. Like I mean, there was no surprises. I knew exactly what Dubai was going to be like. It's like a man-made place.
It's just so...
For me, it was kind of fascinating to see it.
It was a waste of time for me. If we wouldn't have seen our friends, it would have been.
We wouldn't have gone to Dubai if we didn't go to see our friends. But I'm glad we went because we got to see it and be like, yeah, we've been to Dubai and we don't need to go to Dubai again.
Fair enough. That's the value of what going to Dubai when we did.
Basically, I don't know. We had some really fun times. Like we got to go to the desert and we got to like we went out for dinner that one night with our friends.
Dinner was great. I really enjoyed dinner with our friends. But I think like taking the trip to a country like that, if you enjoy the process of spending money, then
it was
like
expensive.
Dubai.
Yeah, you're right. It was expensive.
It was expensive. It offered like no physical beauty, in my opinion. It had man-made.
It's all man-made.
It's all man-made, like art. Yeah, and it wasn't even as nice as I thought it was going to be. It wasn't even as luxurious as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like obscenely luxurious, and it's like, well, there is that, but it's right next to something that's a total piece of crap.
Right. Because I don't know if we didn't really go to any luxurious places though.
I mean, we went out on Palm. Like,
is that like really luxurious?
Yeah, like that's like a man-made icon.
Yeah.
Anyway, not my jam.
Yeah, that's fine. We can have different experiences.
Yeah.
I was trying to
trying to not crap on Dubai.
I was trying to defend it, but
you can if you want. I was
more defending it for our friends' sake because they live there.
Hey, that's their choice.
Yeah, I know.
Let's see what I was gonna say. Yeah, no, I mean I loved spending time with them.
Right.
I think we could have fun spending time with them anywhere.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. It didn't matter that it was in Dubai. No matter where they were, we probably would have just visited them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I would just never go to Dubai again.
No.
But I think I would go to Bali again.
I think so too. I would love to go up into the mountains and like experience it a little bit more. I think we were a little bit trapped where we were because it's like the traffic's bad, and we weren't there for a long time, so we didn't really want to like explore
Travel
too
around,
much. Yeah. So I think definitely a little bit longer and maybe some more places.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for listening to part 1 of our 2-parter on our trip and kind of some of the stuff we learned and our thoughts on how things went down. For part 2, that will be released very shortly, if not already. So be on the lookout for that and have a listen. Thanks.